All right, guys. Once again, welcome to Tools and Tribe. For anyone joining us, welcome. For those that have subscribed, thank you so much. We truly appreciate your subscription. For those that are still watching, please subscribe. It will help us grow the channel faster. And beyond that, please engage, share, and the rest. It will help us in between and much more. All right, let's jump into today's discussion, right? So, the person we're bringing in, I've known him for more than 10 years now. And from the time I've known him, I've seen him grow in his career. So, he started as a mechanical engineer, and from there, he entered into tech, right? So, but in order for me not to bore you with his story, I want him to share his story himself, and I'll give the floor over to him. His name is Tolu, right? So my namesake, right? But beyond that, he has so much knowledge he'll be sharing with us. So I'm going to give the mic over to him. He does the introduction and we move into the discussion. So Tolu, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Tolu, my namesake, for inviting me to this show. I really appreciate that, and it's good to be here. I'm basically a software data engineer. What I do is I try to make complex things simple for businesses and enterprises. So it's a great one to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. He's so humble, right? But trust me, this guy is a startup founder, right? And he will soon be cutting soap for us. For those who don't understand what soap means, chat me about it later. All right. So let's go into the discussion for today. So I feel one important journey I feel you should share with us is how I know you read mechanical engineering in school, but now I see you in the data engineering space, the cloud architectural space. What sparked that transition for you and what made it happen?
Yeah. All right. That's a very great question. I'll say my flair for automation and software uh, started it started back in school, right, back in university, right. I majorly had a flair for making things faster, making things much better, and that drove me to tech basically, right. Back in school, my favorite classes were aerodynamics. There were things that involved physics and things that involved tech as well, like software and tech, right. So I had to just go back and combine, most of my prior interest, and that prepared me, going into tech. So as I got into tech.
Well, thank you so much, right? And for us on this show, what I always try to do as much as possible is to kind of break words so down so that people that age 10, 15, 18, the young youths, right? How you explain your role to a 10-year-old?
Yeah, I'd say that I make things like simpler for people by doing the difficult things first,
Mm,
right? And what I do basically is I collect information from devices, from applications that you use, like your game apps and the likes of it. And what I do is I try to make meaningful information out of it to the right people. So that's the basic way I can explain data engineering for young folks out there. That's basically what we do. We try to work on complex things. We collect the information we can get, and we bring it out for the people to make decision from it. So that's like the basics of data engineering. Yeah.
okay, thank you so much, right? And I feel that sometimes people have, so I feel it's the same way. If I'm going to explain this to a 10-year-old, I'll tell the 10-year-old that, see, before your game was created, do you know we gathered facts on how you guys will use the device? So those information was what now kind of created the game you are using based on the level you are, be it a puzzle, be it a spelling test, be it anything. We gathered what will be relevant for you so that you can kind of have a vast knowledge in that particular field, right? But beyond that, right? So I feel what was your is we're moving to the next conversation. What was your biggest turning point in your career?
So I would say that it depends on which part of my career that you're asking. But I want to believe that it's tech, right? Since we're in tech. So I'd say one of the biggest turning point for me was when I got to work on a recommender system, right? And recommender systems are majorly, the way Netflix works and other tech companies work. They have like inbuilt, um, you know, recommender system based on user interest. So I did something for a company, for a client in the UK, in Spain rather, and that was like a very major thing for me because prior to that, it was just like like it's you're working on just a project in your PC and likes of it, but this time around you get to ensure that you're putting something out there for actual users, right? It's a production, right? And it was a very major one for me, right? Um, and yeah, so it was a moment I was prepared for, right? So that was like a very good one for me, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Right. And for me, why I asked that question, because it kind of transition, it's like we're building into for those who are non-techies, those that are interested in your role as a data engineer or as a cloud architect. It kind of builds an interest for people to kind of come on board, right? But I feel a lot of people will be watching us and they'll be wondering, okay, how did you move into data, or how did you get move into a data role or a cloud roles? What practical steps can someone take into moving into such spaces?
Yeah, so for this, I would say the first thing I would say is discover your space, right? Right, because tech is a bit broad. So I'll say discover your space, then learn about different tech roles that exist. For example, if you want to go to cloud, there's design, there's product, there's a scripting part of things. There's also security part of it. So I'd say first of all, discover your roles, your flair, then discover what are the current existing roles currently in tech, right? And which one resonates with your current capabilities. Now, for some of them, you might need to grow into them. So it doesn't mean that if you don't have the skill correctly, you cannot grow into it. So if you have the current skill, it's something you can actually grow into, right? But I would say that you have to discover yourself, and also don't be afraid to pivot
Mm,
because you might be learning one particular thing at a point in time, and you might you just as you're discovering yourself, you're learning more, you're inventing yourself the more, right? So don't be afraid to pivot. So that's my feedback for anyone that wants to go into any tech or data cloud roles. Yeah.
well, thank you so much, right? And for me, you said something that we need to know our interests before for you to kind of discover yourself. You mentioned different roles in tech. And for me, it kind of leads me to the next conversation, right? But I feel this conversation, it's all about what are the non-negotiable skills that people who wants to become a data engineer or a cloud architect that they need in order to venture into such roles.
Yeah. So learn SQL and Python, right? I think these are two non-negotiable skills you need to learn, and you're going to use them, right? It's a bedrock of any other thing that you're going to do as a data engineer. Even if you want to go into machine learning or any other thing else, learn about SQL and Python. Now, for SQL, you get to understand how database gets to work, and for Python, Python you should understand like data structures, the basis of algorithms and all of that. So these are like very very essential things, and you're going to require. Then one other thing again that you should also learn is, although as a junior, you and as a junior, one of your primary interests will be you want to learn a skill, right? The core skill required for that job. But as you grow in that career or in that particular space, you're going to realize that it goes beyond just the skills. You need to see how you can translate those skills into business performance, right? You're not just building a new workflow or a new pipeline because you love the skill of the tech. No, outside considering technical depth and all of that, you have to look at, okay, now how is what I'm building, how does it improve the business performance, right? Are we getting more users? Are we reducing churn? So what exactly are we doing? So that is, you get to that level as you grow along. But the essential thing you need to learn first as SQL and Python, then you begin to understand the business side of things. required for that particular industry. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. For me, I feel there's something you said, and I don't think anybody has really said it right. A few people have said it. Some people have said it that you need to solve problems in order for you to stay relevant. But I like the way you said it because most people don't just hire people with fancy job titles, right? So, and I'm going to kind of lecture on it a little bit. So, if you were starting your career from ground zero in the year 2025, how would you break into tech?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question. Now, if I were to start afresh, like I'm just coming in, what I would do is I will lock myself in a room, or I'll just separate myself for 3 months, right? For 3 good months, learning the fundamentals of the particular role I want to go into. So if I want to go into data engineering, for instance, or cloud architect or cloud engineering or DevOps or what have you, I just need to separate myself for 3 good months. Now, in that 3 good months, I'm learning the fundamentals. So, say for example, I want to go into the engineering or machine learning, for instance. Like I said, 3 months, I'm learning SQL. I'm learning about joins. I'm learning about um, I do author. I mean, several different commands, right? I'm getting the fundamentals of that part. I'm learning Python as well. I want to know the data types. I want to know the structures. I want to know like what are the rudiments for in Python, first of all, right? Because that would help me once I can get that bedrock. I can do 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks. Typically, in weeks, right? But I'm learning the fundamentals. Then the next thing I will do is after that 3 months, I will now come out and build in public, right? Because I realize that right now, for most young people, most people just coming in, building in public is a very good thing even for people that are already experienced, right? It's a very essential thing to do, right? So it puts us out there, it puts you out there, right? So if I'll start out fresh again, 3 months, like I always advise people that come to me to ask the same question, give yourself 3 months to learn this thing. After that 3 months, you begin to iterate on that thing. You build in public, and from there, and from there, within a year, you have a very good foundation in that particular space. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much about that, right? And I feel we need to move on. There's a very interesting topic everybody keeps talking about, and I feel we also need to talk about it, right? Is for everybody's talking about AI, artificial intelligence here and there, and all that. And I feel that how do you see it? Do you see it as a threat or do you see it as an opportunity? What do you think?
Well, so AI is both a threat and an opportunity. So depending on the side of the knife you fall on the right. So I mean, because for example, AI is coming to take jobs away. It's taking jobs away already, right? But also AI is also making work simpler and faster and easier. So, for example, most software guys do not need to like some code, like even code bases, they don't need to start afresh, writing them again. But AI comes and makes that easier. For instance, also the likes of ChatGPT and on other tools, search tools, you know, most people have left Google or any other search engines to use this because the AI gets you talks like a human. So basically AI is coming to make things easier, make things faster, but also it's going to take a lot of jobs, right? I think, I mean, so in that kind of light, one of the very key things is you shouldn't fall on the other part of the knife, right? You should fall on the good part, the blunt part, the other side, right? The side that can leverage an AI into making your work much easier, right? So that is a very key essential thing in this new AI age.
Right. Thank you so much. For me, and I feel that's very interesting because most times on every part of the news you listen to, it keeps popping up, it keeps popping up, it keeps popping up, right? But I like the way you said it, that we need to be at a place where we are at an advantageous place where we are not being laid off from work, but we are the one creating jobs for so many people, right? And for me, it kind of leads us to the next discussion, right? What is one project that has shown that for you, you can take it to the public and people can just say, oh wow, I didn't know this field can do such in this industry. What is one project you want to kind of make mention of?
Well, I'd say there are, I mean, there's several of them, but there's just this one I can pinpoint right now. And I would say this is a medical body analysis. So I think I did something for some set of doctors who were researching, who were doing research, right? I can't remember the exact research, but basically it involved the body mass, body weight, body mass, I think BMI, something like that. Certain that key indices and parameters suited to the human body, right? And that was a very interesting tool because, in that instance, I used Python for that particular analysis, right? So I had to leverage on several existing knowledge I had in Python to get that thing done, right? But the thing is, like as I said in the question, I got to see how analyzing that those particular data was very relatable because it has to do with the body, the anatomy, human anatomy, right? So I was able to see how how the way doctors get information and the way we analysts or engineers the way we can interpret it. So that was a very eye-opening encounter for me, right?
All right. Thank you so much for that, right? And for me, when you're talking, it kind of brings me back to our previous conversation because I feel there are some people they'll be worried keep because we said that there are some jobs that will be laid off, there are some jobs that will be in an advantageous place where they even create more jobs than the rest, right? And I know you have worked in multiple industries, right? But which industry do you think AI will disrupt the most in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I'd say that AI will disrupt the tech industry first, which is currently doing already, right? Because right now, like I said previously, software engineers are finding their work much easier, even though most of the time they have to still make corrections, right? But AI is disrupting software engineering already. So, for example, if you're going to hire any software engineer right now, and you are thinking that they have to write the script by themselves entirely, that's a lie. Things have changed, times have changed. It's the truth. I mean, that's because you just be so. But the thing is, one very thing like I always tell folks is, you should understand like what the AI is doing for you too, right? Understand the rudiment, the structures, like what exactly the AI is. So, but AI is going to first of all disrupt tech. Then before it moves into other industries, like healthcare, energy, and the likes of it. But the first thing I'll see is the tech, right? And if you look at the next, like okay, if you look at the next 5 years, I would say that it's still I won't be able to predict like what particular industry it will disrupt more next, right? Because the way things are going right now, you cannot really predict some things because you find out every day we keep learning of new invention. Right now, current right now, I think Google just brought out something very new, something like, something banana, like which is going to compete with Photoshop. So you can imagine, right? So I mean, designers are going to be finding their work either easier or they're going to be out of jobs or something like that. But basically, this is what's currently happening in the tech space currently, right? So I think it will start from tech before it moves on to other industries. Thank you.
Wow. Man, thank you so much, right? And for me, it kind of leads me, I feel there's always one question that it's always very important to ask, right? I know you are both a data engineer, I know you're both a cloud architect, and I know sometimes it can be overwhelming to be honest, right? But how do you stay sharp? How do you keep learning? And how do you avoid burnout?
Yes, so I'd say learn from the best. That's the first thing. That's the first one. The second one is take refresher courses, right? If you want to keep learning and improving yourself, take refresher courses. And on LinkedIn, follow the right set of people within the what you want to do, right? So as they're posting stuff online about your industry, you are learning from them. So you don't necessarily have to say, "Oh, come and mentor me per se," but you're learning from it. You're learning from a distance, right? Then take or breaks as often as you need them, because you need to understand that sometimes, most of the time, when I'm stuck coding or I'm stuck solving a problem, when I walk away for a few of some time and just relax my mind, that way, when I come back to it, most of the time, the problem gets so faster. right? So take breaks and watch your body, manage your body, so you don't have burnout. Take breaks, but still as much as possible, still give it a drive. Hard work doesn't really kill actually, right? So so that's my take.
All right. Thank you so much, right? And for me, this is kind of called tools and tribe, right? So it kind of moves us to the next discussion, which is all about what tool, maybe you can name two or three tools that you use to stay productive, right? Be it personally or in your when you're running your own business. What are those kind of tools to that also shape your own habits also? Maybe be it in personal or be professionally.
Okay, so in terms of tools, all right. So I'd say one of the things that helps me or that helps me stay productive. The very first thing is writing my ideas down, right? Either in pen or maybe with a computer or something like that, or in a tablet or whatever it is. But writing my ideas down, that's the very first thing that helps me, right? The second thing is system thinking. Now, what I mean is system thinking? System thinking most of the time before I solve a particular problem, right? Now, I found out over time that before you solve a problem, you can design around it, right? Because it saves you a lot of time, before while you're solving the problem in itself. Maybe it's because of the also the mechanical design engineering background I have. I don't know, but I just found out that in tech, it's what has helped me enough is that system. As why in tech, system design. As why in tech, we have what we call, I think, system design, right? For when you're building a new system or a new a new application, the system design first. So when you're given a ticket or when you're given a particular issue, just think about it, right? Sketch it out. Could be somewhere, anywhere you can sketch it out. Then that way you find out that it's more going to be easier for you when you're solving the problem. So these are the two things that helps me and helps my team members because I also pass this information across to them. I don't just jump into coding, no. Right? Look at the problem and think about it. So system thinking and writing my ideas down has been what has been helpful for me.
Thank you so much. For me, there's something you said about that system thinking, right? My mentor always used to say that see, everything rise and fall on that system. So if your system is weak, just know your career or your day has kind of crumbled, right? So everything starts with a good system, and I like the way you put it together, right? And for me, it kind of leads us to the next discussion, right? What has been the hardest challenge you have faced in your career, in your business, and how did you overcome it?
So you see this question now, it's witty actually. But for me, I would say people. That's the human person, right? And they've also been my greatest asset, right? So you realize that everything falls rise and falls on people because people build systems.
Yeah.
Systems do not actually invent themselves, right? So people build systems. And over time in my career, I've got to realize that I manage people differently, right? I also get to apply emotional intelligence as much as I can when I work with people, right? Because I realize that, for example, if you're a team lead, as a team lead, right, you have different set of people working under you or assigned to you. You need to understand that they're going to react differently, right? They will react differently to different events and different maybe the instructions or assignments you assign them to, right? So, but you need to understand. So because understanding understanding the human nature, understanding how this works, will also help you. So this is something that I'm learning daily, and I get to learn on it, right? So to improve myself in terms of managing people, right? So people are, people. So I'll talk about that. The answer is people, right? So they're the and they're also the greatest assets that you can have out there. So that's it.
Well, thank you so much, right? And for me, when you're talking about this, I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and it was exactly the same thing the person said, right? So people are the greatest assets, and people can also be the people that can also bring systems, make systems crumble, right? And I feel it's very important that we have that conversation, right? And for me, it kind of leads us to there's a particular segment I call the engagement section, right? Where we have a quick breaker, right? But in this breaker, we just kind of ask random questions and we just take the conversation from there. So, what has been one book that has changed your perspective?
Well, I'd say Think Big by Ben Carson. Yeah, I think yeah, it was either before I go to school, maybe university or so. Now I think I found the book right. So, but it's Think Big by Ben Carson. The book was very, very transformational for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not going to move to the next segment, right? What's your favorite tech tool that can't you can't live without it?
Well, I'd say my ID. I mean, that's my development environment, right? So that's my VS Code, because no matter what I do, I still have to go back to the VS Code. So that's the tool I can live without currently.
Well, thank you so much, right? And I'm moving to the next one. One myth about data and AI that annoys you. What is that myth?
So people think that AI is always right or
Mm,
that AI is correct. And the funny thing is that you find that most folks that are just using ChatGPT or any other tool out there, they need to understand that the AI itself is not right. I can remember when I was learning data science, like one of the things I learned was because data is AI is like garbage in, garbage out. Like so you don't always trust on the model 100%. There's a room for it's a machine, right? It's a computer, so there are room for failures, right? There are room for hallucinations and the likes. But still, this is one very like a fallacy I find correct, like So AI is not always right, so you need to fact check sometimes your responses. Yeah.
well, thank you so much. I like that you've been very brutal. Thank you so much. Right. And for me, in that moves on to the next discussion, right? Seeing that same quick discussion. So, which will you prefer, coffee or tea when coding?
No, naturally, to be candid.
All right. I'm moving on to the next one. And if you weren't in tech, what would you be doing?
Mm. Well, I like this one because in fact, I think I could have done so many things because at the point in time, I like to sing when I was much younger. Then I think I like sports at another point in time, right? But I'd say that if I were not in tech, I would I would still be my hardware engineer. Like I would be either in space engineering because I like aerodynamics back in school. I'll be doing space engineering or in energy, like I'm sorry, in energy and power engineering. So I'll still be doing either hardware. So I'm the hardware engineering. Oh yeah, so something like that.
Okay. I'm going to ask, what is one hack or shortcut that has helped you accelerate in your career?
Mm. So for this, one hack or shortcut. Well, they say there are, well, I'd say one hack. I'd say, I'd say one thing that helped me a lot by, um, in my career will be learning by observing. Like that's a hack because I've been thinking, okay, what kind of, but this is the answer, right? Because I remember back then when I started, because I remember back then I was working on a power project before I came fully to tech. I was doing the energy and power project, and I got into an edtech. I got and I came in, started working in the edtech space and all of that. And I remember back then we had like a hub, and in that hub, folks were always just talking. Then Power BI, was just coming up. Like things were coming up interesting, and Anaconda tools you could use in data science and like. And I wasn't really like coding every day per se because of my assignment then, my responsibilities then. But I just learned it by observing, right? Observations. And so that I joined classes too, but it was basically observation. And that simple thing helped me. So if you want to go far, like in this tech space, you need to learn by observing. And I think generally in life, you learn by observing. People don't really have to tell you everything possible, but just observe and learn. And that way, it's a big hack for you, right? Into accelerating your career. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, right? And for me, I'm going to ask you the final one of this particular segment. We talk about this rapid fire kind of question, right? And can you explain? I'm going to give you two words, right? Can you explain cloud architecture and machine learning pipeline in 30 seconds without any technical jargon?
All right. So cloud architecture basically is basically ways in which we keep devices working behind the scenes, things we don't see, right? They enable work when we press our mobile phones, our mobile applications, when you send a message to somebody, those data or those information or those texts are stored somewhere. So that thing comprises of the cloud architecture. Right? They are like, I don't want to use technical stuff. Then the next part is machine learning. So machine learning basically is I used yesterday and today to determine tomorrow.
Mm,
That's what machine learning is about. So the more of yesterday I know, and the more of today I know, the more of tomorrow I can tell. So
mm,
that's what machine learning basically does. It's not God per se, right? It's not so. It just learns about the history of the individual or the particular entity, right? So that's it.
yeah. So I'm going to ask you the last discussion for this particular segment of rapid discussion, right? And for me, it's all about, it kind of links us back to the discussion where we talk about AI, where AI is going and all that, right? So, but I wanted to ask you, right, if AI will replace maybe 50% of the jobs in by 2030, do you agree or disagree that it will happen and why?
If it will replace 50% of the jobs by 2030, I think that's very possible because that's very possible actually. I mean, because a lot of things are being automated right now, like a lot. I mean, if you check Twitter, you see different trends. You hear about different agents coming up, and now you hear about human bots and the likes of it. So AI, but I think that's very possible because right now the technology is available, right? The cloud architecture, they have been available. I know a lot of tech companies are working behind the scenes in terms of expanding their cloud base. So it's very possible. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. So let's, as we begin to wind down, right, it kind of brings us to this is the last session for this particular segment, right? What's one mistake that you see people making when they are trying to break into tech?
I think one mistake people make is they try to learn so many things at the same time, right? You find out that you say, okay, yeah. People they come and say, oh, they want to learn. Today you see them learning product design. Tomorrow you see them learning something else. So they just keep moving up and down, up and down, up and down. Meanwhile, they need to, although it's good to try things out. I'm not saying you shouldn't try things out, right? But still, um, if you need to, if you discover that this is a particular space you want to learn, like I said before in this on this podcast, take out 3 months of yourself and get yourself. If within 3 months you see that you don't like that thing, you can change it, or maybe within let's say within 6 weeks or so. But you can't keep jumping about in terms of you want to learn. You have to give yourself to that thing, right, to learn. So that this is one mistake I see a lot of people doing, and they're trying to combine so much at the same time. For example, you don't learn machine learning, you don't learn Python fundamentals, but yet you start carrying algorithms and likes of it. So it's not feasible.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing, right? And I kind of feel it leads me to the next discussion, right? I've seen people that are beyond, maybe in their 50s, in their 40s, or maybe people are in their mid journey in their careers, or maybe someone is just graduating out of university. But I hear this statement a lot that sometimes it feels too late to switch into tech. What do you tell those kind of people?
I would say it's never too late to switch to tech, right? I've seen people enter tech at different age. I've seen people learn code at 35, at 40, at 45. So it's never too late to switch to tech, right? It's never too late. So don't let age be a factor or be a barrier to how or what you want to learn in tech, right? So age should never be an issue. It's not too late to switch it. So you can switch right now. I don't care how old you are. As long as you have the drive and the interest to learn it, trust me, you do well.
All right. Thank you so much. So this is like the last segment of this particular show, right? And thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, right? It means a lot. And for me, before the last question I would like to ask you is, where do you see data engineering and AI going in the next 10 years?
So in the next 10 years, AI would disrupt a lot of things in data engineering. For instance, right, we're going to see the rise of different AI agents that can be used to augment some processes in different data engineers. So it means that you're not going to be having to write something from scratch again, but these agents will think and take action by themselves. But that doesn't say that the data engineer is going to go away. Um, as of before and currently, and even in the next 10 years, data engineering will still be the heartbeat of data and ML, right? Because people are going to need data. Even the AIs, you need more data to train them. So with the data engineer, we're still going to get more data, source them out, filter them, store them somewhere, So that skill or the job availability is still going to be there. But however, we're still going to see some things and work and processes are going to be improved and disrupted by AI, especially LLM, large language models systems, right?
All right. Thank you so very much, guys. This kind of brings us down to the last part of our discussion. He has spoken at length at data engineering, cloud architecture, people entering those spaces, people also entering into tech, right? And for me, for us to just round it up, I feel, what advice do you want to just give viewers generally?
Yeah, so my general advice is stay hungry, keep learning, stay hungry, keep learning, and don't you quit. So that's it.
Well, thank you so very much, my namesake. All right, guys, thank you so much for taking our time to watch today's
Okay.
program. Thank you so much for taking our time to watch today's program. We appreciate, and thank you so much. As much as possible, please share this video, engage with it, and comment. Right? Do have an amazing day. Thank you.